to the grand final edition of the Don't Argue, all thanks to Palmerbet. What a season it has been, 2023. And Kurt Gidley, as I say, a very good afternoon to you, Gids. I must admit, I reckon the two best teams, the two most consistent teams all year have made the grand final, and both deserve it of their spot.
Oh, mate, Matty, 100%. I mean, two best teams here on Grand Final Day this Sunday afternoon, shaping up as a cracking game, and they both got so much to offer, both teams. And statistics wise, they are two of the best teams in the comp. That's why they're here on the big day. So interesting to get made into a little bit deeper into the stats where we go through the program here. But yeah, both teams, I think, slightly different, mate. On paper, we'll probably talk about the youth and speed of the Broncos, but just the Panthers, mate, they're just so clinical. What they did last week as well. Every play, every set play they're on, they know their role. They do it well. One of the best defending teams in the competition over the last few years. So it'd be tough for the Broncos to try and crack that.
So 4 grand finals in a row, looking for a three-peat, the Panthers. Broncos haven't been there since 2015. I reckon they're the real story of the year, aren't they? Because they were kind of like a basket case in the off-season, weren't they, Gids?
Yeah, but I was pretty uncertain how they'd go this year on the back of last year. I thought that might be a bit of a mental hangover for them with what sort of unfolded back end of last year and bowing out before the semi-finals. But, mate, they've turned it around this year, that's for sure. They've been one of the most consistent teams, one of the most exciting teams to watch throughout the season. As they've always sort of said throughout the year, the speed and the youth of the back line, the experience of Adam Reynolds, and, mate, tough forward pack. That blokes like Payne Haas just plays big minutes. He's athletic, speed, but endurance for a big man. Flegler and blokes like Jordan Ricky running hard lines on the edge, and Pat Carrigan, who's, mate, also so tough and resilient. So yeah, they've been an exciting team to watch, but geez, I'm finding it hard to go past the Panthers still.
Hey, let's have a look at last week's prelim finals. Panthers were massive, 38-4, absolutely demolished the Melbourne Storm. Brian To'o starred for the Panthers with 3 tries. Nathan Cleary was at his absolute clinical best with a dominant performance. 1 try, 7 goals, 18 points in total for Cleary. And at the end of the day, the Storm just ran out of a little bit of steam, didn't they, Gids?
Oh, for sure, buddy. I think it was always going to be tough, mate, for the Warriors in the Storm last week, and it was probably a little bit like the Knights the week before. I think the Knights probably played their last game against the Raiders at home semi. Warriors played their last game at home in New Zealand, and it's hard to back up week on week when the intensity continues to go up by so much, and also just trying to get your best players through to the next game. And that's why that week off, mate, is just so influential. And it has been for the Broncos and the Panthers, just to get players through, recover, recuperate and prepare for the next game. Both those teams, Melbourne and Warriors, done really well to, again, make top 4, especially the Warriors coming from where they did last year. But, no doubt, 2 best teams are in the grand final, so it shapes up as a cracking game.
How do you rate the Storm season, Gids?
Well, mate, top 4. I mean, they're still consistently in the top 8 every year. They're competing. I thought they had a bit more of a roller coaster year, but also, mate, the caliber of players, over the whole squad, isn't as dynamic as what it's been over the years. They had, bloody so many Origin players, over the years of their success, but they still continue to make, top 8 and top 4. So I admire them as a club, and Craig Bellamy, that's for sure.
Yeah, they've got a bit of young talent too coming through, I reckon, Gids, which is exciting as well, which you've always got to have. And probably one thing the Storm have been so good at is harnessing that young talent, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, mate. Harnessing young talent, and also harnessing players who were sort of a little bit lost midway through their NRL career, and then they go to the Melbourne Storm, and all of a sudden they go to another level again. That's a big recognition of the culture they have there at Melbourne.
Culture,
Yeah.
mate. That's exactly what I reckon too, big fella. Hey, what about the Broncos? They steamrolled the Warriors too, mate, who had a sensational season, 42-12. Billy Walters, Herbie Farnsworth, they both got a double. Warriors tried to keep pace with 3 first-half tries, but the Broncos blew them away in the second half. They were huge. As I said, Warriors, they'd take away and walk away from this season with some massive positives. They've had a season that I don't think anyone thought they were going to have on the back of it. 2 or 3 really tough years with COVID, being on the road and all that for so long. So they've got a good springboard heading into next season, haven't they?
Yeah, for sure, mate. I mean, yeah, admire where the Warriors have taken their season. Andrew Webster's done a top job there as head coach for the first time. Outstanding job. They got the New Zealand support behind them, mate, back in Auckland, and it was awesome to see. So congratulations to them as a club. I thought, mate, they'd get off to a great start against the Broncos there last week. They took the crowd out of it, which they needed to do early on. Yeah. I thought their first try was a great set piece. Intercept, I think, their second try, and they scored the first 3. But yeah, I guess the class and composure of the Broncos were able to swing the momentum back, and it was tough once that momentum was back in the Broncos' hands. But yeah, certainly admire where the Warriors got to this season on the back of last year. I think they're the most improved team, and Andrew Webster probably should be up there with Coach of the Year, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm equally as impressed. I know you're pumped about the Panthers, but gee whiz, I've been Broncos all year for mine, Gids. I just love the way they go about it. They got some real excitement machines. They throw the ball around. They play that attacking brand of rugby league. It's exciting to watch, and gee whiz, I reckon they're gonna light it up on Saturday or Sunday night, big fella. It's going to be enormous for mine.
Well, Matty, we'll talk about the NRLW game, mate, pre the NRL game. So the Newcastle Knights, mate, huge home semi there last week. The NRLW girls, 13,000, almost 13,000, record crowd for the NRLW competition. Huge crowd, mate. Unbelievable atmosphere again in Newcastle. Cracking afternoon, big lineup to get in. So the Newcastle Knights girls looking to go back-to-back premierships, which will be the first time in the club's history. So looking forward to watching that one at about 3:50, I think it is. And then, mate, into the big one, the Broncos and Panthers.
I like the way they do it in the NRL, mate. Just a shortened season for the girls, yeah, I reckon they've really nailed it. Not as many teams either, which I think is really important. Righto, let's have a look at the big one on Sunday night at 7:30 at the Core Stadium. Panthers v the Broncos. The market, all thanks to Palmerbet. Panthers at $1.55. They're our favourites. Broncos at $2.40 at the line, and it is a very, very tight line. The Panthers minus 3.5 at $1.90. Broncos plus 3.5 at $1.90. Both sides, key stats here, all thanks to Palmerbet. Ivan Cleary will roll out the same 17 as last week, with Luai and Targo both getting through the game unscathed. Kevin Walters also likely to stick with the same 17. They've been playing well the last couple of weeks. They split both their games this year, with the Broncos winning their round 1 clash. That seems like an eternity ago. They won that one 21-13. The Panthers won that round 12 clash 15-4. That was tight, that game. Both teams have won 4 of their last 5 games. Panthers have won their last 8 finals matches. That is an amazing record. Hard to chase down. In their last 73 games, Penrith has lost just once, went in front at halftime. That loss was during an Origin-affected game, and it was against the Cowboys, where they were missing 6 players who were in that Blues team, obviously. And the 2 best teams all year, Gids. So Panthers number 1 in attack, Broncos number 2 in attack. Panthers number 1 in defence, Broncos number 2 in defence, and Panthers best home record, Broncos best away record. I tell you what, as I said off the top, the 2 best teams meeting here, I think it's just which way do you want to go? And Gids, I'm putting the hand up, mate. I'm in the corner of the Broncos. I just reckon, Kevy and the crew, I reckon they are going to be absolutely cherry ripe, and I just reckon it is going to be a little bit of Bronco fever come Sunday night.
Yeah, well, mate, there's definitely a vibe around Brisbane at the moment, mate, isn't there, with their sport, mate, over the last few weeks. So, look, it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. There's no doubt about that. And as you just mentioned there, the best teams in attack and defence, that's why they're there in the end. I think, any team that wants to play in the grand final or win the premiership, you've got to be the best defensive team on the day and consistently throughout the year. So, I'm just looking at some of the matchups here, and two different players here. We've started fullback, Dylan Edwards and Reece Walsh. Like, Reece Walsh has had an unbelievable year coming from the Warriors back to the Broncos, and big Origin series, and just the electric speed that he brings at various stages of the game and the field. But Dylan Edwards is someone who I admire as a fullback. His work rate and the influence that he has on the Penrith Panthers as a team, his work rate, his communication on the field, two polar opposite players, but bring different things for their teams, and probably even, if I move to the halves as well, Adam Reynolds, super experienced half, certainly doesn't have the speed like the rest of the back line does, but has the experience and the vision, mate, as a great experienced half. And we all know, how good Nathan Cleary is. I think his teammates, his opponents, the guys who play in the rep teams with him, they all have the same feedback. He's the first one on the training part, and he's the last one to leave. And that's why he's the best halfback in the competition, I believe, is because he puts the time in and he's never content with his current game. So it'd be an awesome matchup for the halves, especially kicking game.
There's a little bit of other byplay too. There's no love lost between Reece Walsh and Jerome Luai. A little bit of Origin kind of boil over there. Are we expecting a fiery kind of exchange? Luai, we know is pretty loose at times. Are we expecting that there might be a little bit of spite in this contest?
Oh, I think there will be. I think both teams will be fired up. I think the way the Broncos took it to Melbourne in that first semi, they were strong and aggressive and line speed. I think they'll have to do that. I mean, if we remember back to the Panthers and the Eels in the grand final last year, like that, the Panthers absolutely dominated just field possession and line speed. The Eels were kicking from their own 20, 30 metre line. So I think the Broncos will recognise that, and they'll come out super hard at them. And, mate, there was a little bit of tension there from the Origin series earlier in the year. I do admire Jerome Luai, the way he got through last week after a short recovery with a dislocated shoulder. They're uncomfortable to come back from. So surprising he got through that, but I think he'll take plenty of confidence from that one. But yeah, I think there'll be a bit of fire. But I don't think anyone will want to cost their team 10 in the bin by doing anything cheap or swinging arms.
Hey, Gids, are you thinking?
I think the other one, Matty. I was just going to jump in there. Mate, the two front rowers for the Panthers, I love. Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris. I just think they're two of the toughest, most experienced, great workers. From what I hear, they're great leaders off the field, team meetings, in the shed. So I think they're two great players that probably go maybe a little bit unrecognised, maybe not. They're certainly two players that are so influential in the Panthers team.
So, Gids, are we thinking it's going to be a high-scoring affair, or are we thinking it's going to be just a real tight, titanic struggle, and one side's going to obviously take the breaks when they come their way?
Well, it's hard to say it's going to be a high-scoring game given the defensive record of both teams. Both teams have defended really well throughout the year, but I do think with the intensity of the game early, and the speed of the game, and I think that there will be some trial. I think it's meant to be 35 degrees on Sunday.
Oh,
so it's going to be a hot, fast track. Yeah, it's going to be warm. So what is it? I think it's 7:30 kickoff. So it'll be fast at that stage of the game. Good ball movement. I think, both teams have got some great flair and attacking footy, and I think there might be a few points, mate.
Yeah, right. So
I still think it's going to be tight. I still think the overall score might be tight, though.
Righto. So you're sticking with the Panthers, Gids. I'm going Broncos, mate. Are you sticking with the Panthers?
I'm going to stick with the Panthers, mate. That's probably what I seen last week, again, against the Storm. Different story against the Broncos this week, but, I'm going to stick with the Panthers, mate. Really clinical attack-wise, super connected defensively, great work ethic, great structure. So going to go Panthers 1-12, mate.
1-12 in a tight contest. It's going to be a beauty. Let's have a look at some of the markets earlier on in the year and where they've ended up, all thanks to Palmerbet. So Panthers were 380 to win the premiership at the start of the season. Currently, 380 to win it. They're currently 55. So when you look back now, they've been such a great team for such a long time. 380, to be honest, Gids, was probably a luxury, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I mean, it's a big effort to try and back up for a premiership contention year on year, that's for sure.
But they kept
maybe
their
that's
list.
why the market was just a little bit careful there.
Yeah.
But also, there was there was plenty of talk around the Roosters being grand final contenders for this year. The Broncos team, I think Parramatta would have, been expected for sort of top four. So the Panthers, 380, decent odds really when you reflect on it early in the year.
Well, you talk about decent odds. Broncos were $18, and that was on the back of such it was just such an unusual off season. There were so many negative stories, wasn't there, coming out of the Broncos kind of team? So to do what they've done is a huge effort, really, isn't it?
Well, I think maybe it'll be similar to probably South's off season this year. The way the Broncos bowed out and didn't make the semi-finals at the back end of last year, there was just so much commentary all over their off season. Some of their players commenting on podcasts around the coach, and that all just creates outside noise and commentary from journalists and footy shows and all that sort of thing leading into the year. So they've done a remarkable effort to become top two and be in the grand final on the back of the talk of last off season.
Yeah, my oath, mate. Hey, to make the grand final in the off-season, Panthers were $2.50, Broncos were $7. So interesting little marks, virtually half what their premiership odds were, which you would imagine. Now, some other key markets, all thanks to Palmer Bet. So we just touched on. So total points of the game, under 38.5 at $1.90, over 38.5 at $1.90. You're thinking over 38.5, Gids? Is that the way to play?
I think so. I think so, Matty. I think so. They can both score tries. There's no doubt about it. And even though both teams defend well, the structure and how clinical the Panthers are with their set plays, they can just strip teams, mate, with the players they have on the park and the speed. So, but also the Broncos, mate, some of their attack. Like if you're going to be that third defender where you're trying to check and release on your back row and have Reece Walsh out the back, then you're going to be in trouble. So I do think it's going to be, over the points, mate, over 38.5.
Yeah, the margin's always interesting, thanks to Palmer Bet. Panthers 1 to 12, 270. That's where you're playing, Gids. Panthers 13 plus at 370. You're getting a little bit more value there. Broncos 1 to 12 at 320. Broncos 13 plus at 580. I'm liking the Bronx 1 to 12 for mine, 320. I'll take that, Gids. And team to score first. So Panthers off to a flyer of $1.71. Broncos to score first at 206. I reckon the Broncos, they get out of the blocks for mine. They're going to be up and about. They're going to be tossing the ball around. And I reckon $2 for them to score first is going to be an absolute luxury, big fella.
Yeah, man, I reckon there's going to be some origin intensity of this first sort of 10 minutes.
I agree.
Mate. So I reckon she's going to be game on. So I think if it's going to be first points, I don't know if that's team to score first. I think it's going to be penalty goal, mate, to start with, because I think the ref's going to have to play a part in probably trying to calm it down.
Yeah, I reckon you might be right there, mate. Hey, first try scorer. Always some interest in this one, Gids. Brian To'o, who's in great nick at the moment with a treble last week at $8. Selwyn Cobbo at $10. Taruva at $10. Steve Crichton at $10. Jesse Arthurs at $12. Reece Walsh at $12. Dylan Edwards, $13. Isaac Targo, $13. And Herbie Farnsworth at $14. Which way and where are you playing here, Gids?
Well, mate, I did have Brian To'o score because I'm a big fan of Brian To'o. I love his yardage carries, his work ethic. He's a bit of a character on the field, and he can finish a try. There's no doubt about that. But I'm actually going to change it. I'm going to get on my Temora Dragons, mate, the Riverina country boy, Liam Martin. So what have we got there? That's
what odds there, Gids? He's not even on my page, mate.
Oh, mate, you keep talking, mate, about the Clive Churchill. I'm going to look that up as we're live, mate.
It's going to be
I'm going to get on Liam Martin.
Odds anyway. I love it. Hey, another market which you just touched on, Clive Churchill medal. It is obviously Nathan Cleary is the favourite at $3.50. He is the star of the game. So is this man Reece Walsh at $6.50. Adam Reynolds, the veteran, at $8.50. Dylan Edwards at $10. Payne Haas at $12. Isaiah Yeo at $14. Paddy Carrigan. I like Pig Paddy. He's one of my faves at $14, and Liam Martin at $21. Clive Churchill, Gids, what are we thinking there, big fella?
Yeah, mate. So I've just looked up the odds on the Palmer Bet app. That's how quick it is, mate. While you're talking, bang, bang, I'm on. So Liam Martin, first try scorer, $17. I
Ooh,
think he
nice
runs a
odds.
good, tough line as a back rower, and he's a
Yep.
real competitor too. I think he's a player that the opposite players have some fear about. So some pretty decent odds there. And I think, mate, if he scores first, he's in for a big game. He's always competing on kick chases and he's aggressive defensively. He goes out of his way to try and hurt people legally, that is. And I think if he has a big game, he's in for a Clive Churchill medal. So $21. That'd be a nice little multi. That'll give you.
Oh, mate, absolutely. And that's the way to play it, isn't it? Just multi a few different first try scorers up with a couple of different Clive Churchill medal winners. Just mix and match Gids, and you can have a little bit of a whole lot of fun, really, for not much money.
Mate, 100% you can. You can just, stack a couple together, mate, and it'll just pump your odds out and happy days. Exciting way to follow the game.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, Gids, last week's bets, you went 1 for 4, mate. Broncos, Warriors, you went Broncos 13 plus.
Yeah.
Broncos first to score. Broncos to score the first try. Warriors last to score. You just had that round the wrong way, to be honest. If you had gone the other way, it would have been a 4 for 4, big fella.
Yeah, mate. I'm keen to finish on a high, matey. That's for sure. So I've got a nice little multi here with some decent odds about it. That's for sure.
Right, what do you got, mate? The Gids get on final time, and you have been absolutely magnificent. To be honest, I can't believe that I'm tipping the Broncos against you, because this back half of the season in particular, you have been sensational, mate. So just run through your Gids get on for the big grand final Sunday, 7:30 p.m. at Accor Stadium.
Well, mate, I'm going to hedge my bets here. So I did have just mentioned the Liam Martin first try scorer and Clive Churchill, which will bring some decent odds about that one. But as I did mention about Brian Toto, if Liam Martin isn't first to score, then I like the shape down that right-hand side with Brian Toto. So I'm going to stick with Panthers 1 to 12 to win the game, take the premiership out. Brian Toto, first try scorer, and Liam Martin, anytime try scorer. So
what's
just
gives
me a bit of security, mate. Give me a bit of security, and it is $76.
Oh, big fella. They will be swinging from the rafters if
it's only a 3-legger too, mate.
I like it. And well, the big man Toa, he's in good nick, so why wouldn't he continue that form as well? That is exciting. Hey, Gids, fair income, download the Palmer Bet app, get involved. There's so many different options, so many betting options. It's a really easy app to navigate. But as we always say, gamble responsibly and always think about what you're really gambling with. Mate, it is going to be a sensational grand final. It's been a great year, to be honest. A really, really even year. There's been some unbelievable finishes right throughout the season. All in all, mate, we can't really question the endeavour of this season, can we, mate? It's been absolutely magnificent, hasn't it? Right throughout the year, so competitive.
Oh, Matty, I think it's been one of the most unpredictable years I've ever watched and been a part of. That's for sure. Like early on in the year, like the Dolphins, the run they had to start the year, like no one expected them to go on that run. Let's be honest. First year in the competition, so amazing effort by the Dolphins, and certainly upset a lot of people's tips through that early part of the year.
Yeah.
The Warriors, for them to finish in top four, tough one to pick early whether the Warriors would go well. The Newcastle Knights going on a run of 10 wins.
Yeah.
So, mate, it's been an unpredictable year. And then even, like, I remember the table, I think it was sort of 4 or 5 weeks out from the end of the year, and everyone was sort of trying to calculate where teams would finish. And, mate, the Cowboys out of the 8, the Eels out of the 8, the Bunnies out of the 8. So I think it has been an unpredictable year, but it's been a super exciting year as we got the sort of 5 weeks out from the back end of the year. It was getting tighter and tighter for teams to win the last round just to push into the top 8. So a cracking year, I think, from a numbers wise on TV, as far as how many people have been watching the game. I know that's been record numbers. So
huge.
Pretty amazing year, mate, for the NRL, and it all finishes with the finale on Sunday evening, 7:30 kickoff, mate. 2 best teams in the comp.
It's going to be massive, mate. Where are you watching, Gids? From the man cave?
Mate, I've got a little crew. Old boys crew coming around here. I had a little crew for the Knights v Warriors game there, and I think I'll be doing the same. And I've got the pool down the back. I'll have the barbie cranking. I'll have a couple of cold ones, and I'll be settling in for the Knights girls to hopefully go back to back premiership winners, and then tune in for the big one.
Good on you, mate. Sounds absolutely sensational. My invite obviously got lost in the mail, I'd say, big fella, because the pool, the barbie, the beers doesn't get much better than that, mate. But hey, listen, fantastic season. We must thank the team at Palmerbet too. Wonderful organisation. And we've had a whole lot of fun presenting this show each and every week. That is for sure, mate. And you're the star of it, big fella. We certainly appreciate your time and effort. And I sincerely say this, mate. Your back half, tipping-wise, has been absolutely spot on. So you've picked up the slack in the or from the slow start of the year. You've certainly picked it up in the back half. That is for sure.
No, mate, struggled at the start of the year and even middle part of the year, but yeah, finished on a high, mate, which was great. But Matty, thanks, mate, to yourself for hosting every week. Outstanding job. Thanks to all the behind-the-scenes crew at Palmerbet for, mate, their odds. They dive deep into the statistics, the Palmerbet gang.
Unbelievable.
And, mate, just the progression of this Palmerbet app just keeps going to another level every time I'm logging in. So, yeah, thanks very much for having me on throughout the year. I've loved it. It's been great to dial in from various locations, mate, up and down the East Coast. You even dialing in, mate, from Bali.
From Bali, mate.
And,
how can we forget that?
Yeah, been a great year, mate. Thanks for hosting, and it's been a real pleasure again.
Good on you, big fella, and good luck to both teams competing, of course, on Sunday. The Panthers taking on the Broncos. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, thanks, mate. All the best, everyone.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.